All right, we are live. Hi, everyone. A warm welcome to our webinar, Unlocking LinkedIn Success Strategies and Tools for B2B Marketeers. We are very excited for this session. We have partnered with LinkedIn. We have prepared 1 hour, fully packed with valuable insights. And our goal for today is to help you leverage your LinkedIn marketing strategy, your success measuring, and your reporting. So we are also very curious about your goals for today. So we have a poll is on the right side of your screen. Please fill it in and let us know what is your goal for today. We also would like to explain what are the house rules before we kick off. So if you have any questions, there is a private chat. You also see it on the right side of your screen. Please type your questions. And we have 3 people with us today, Ellen, Artie, and Andrea. They will be replying to you directly, but they will also organize the questions so that we can address them at the end when we have our Q&A session. Please keep the conversation focused on the webinar. So in case you have other questions, just send us an email to support@swydo.com. And if you cannot attend the webinar fully, please, no worries. We will be sending you the replay afterwards, so it will be on your email. All right, so our lineup for today. So first up is Greg McLaughlin. Greg, Account Director of the Nordics. Welcome. Thank you very much for joining this webinar, and would like maybe to make a short introduction.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Greg. So I'm what's called a Senior Account Director here at LinkedIn, working on the Nordics market for our enterprise customers. So I'm delighted to be here today.
Thank you very much. Our second speaker is Jeroen Maljers. Jeroen is founder and CEO of Swydo. Jeroen, thank you very much for participating in this webinar as well. Can you also make a short introduction?
Yes, thank you, Adriana. So I'm indeed the founder of Swydo. Before Swydo, I had a B2B online marketing agency, and we had reporting needs. So we developed Swydo like 10 years ago. At the moment, I focus fully on Swydo. We are with 30 people and have a reporting platform.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And myself, I am Adriana Luxwolda. I'm your host and product marketing manager at Swydo, and I will be moderating the webinar today. All right, let's dive into the content for today. So introduction, we already we already introduced ourselves. Now we will move into our first presentation, leveraging LinkedIn in your B2B marketing strategy. We'll cover different topics. So Greg will be talking about the power of LinkedIn's audience, the business mindset, reaching the entire buying committee, tools and products for marketeers, and measuring success with the revenue attribution report. We will move into our next topic, next presentation, with maximizing efficiency with automated reporting. And Jeroen will be covering the importance of building a trust partner framework, streamlining your LinkedIn marketing data, crafting compelling reports to showcase your success and to share meaningful insights with your clients, and how to stay ahead with targets with your monitoring boards, among other topics. Last but not least, we will have, I'm sorry, my telephone just went on. I'm trying to,
You wanted to make sure that everybody was watching, Adriana.
Yeah, sure.
Double check.
We have a Q&A session at the end. We will be covering all the questions I just mentioned, so you will be able to address any inquiries that you have. So please type them in the chat. All right, it's time to get started. Greg, I will stop my presentation so you can share your screen. Just a second.
Amazing.
And we need to leave the stage, Jeroen.
Amazing. Thanks, Adriana. So just a quick recap, guys. I'm so happy to be here today with Swydo to hopefully give you, whether it's yourself or your clients, a few tips and tricks and kind of elevating that B2B marketing strategy on LinkedIn. So I'm Greg. I'm what's called a Senior Account Director on LinkedIn, working with our enterprise customers in the Nordics market. And just if you do have questions, pop them in the chat. We do have time in the end, and hopefully we can get through as many as possible. And yeah, let's get started. So the first piece, I guess, when we talk about, LinkedIn as a marketing platform versus other platforms, the thing we hear and the thing we know, I guess, here at LinkedIn, what makes us different to other platforms is ultimately the data available. And what LinkedIn allows you to do is to reach decision makers at scale. So about last year, we actually fortunately reached 1 billion members on LinkedIn. We have about 65 million companies on LinkedIn. And with that, we've about 41,000 documented member skills. A LinkedIn audience has 2x the buying power of an average web audience, and 4 out of 5 members drive business decisions. So what we're really trying to do is, not only from a recruitment perspective or like a job platform, we're trying to create a channel for professionals, a B2B channel. And that's been a really, really big focus for LinkedIn as a business over the past 2 years. Now, something I think that's quite, like, I guess, underutilized when it's a LinkedIn, it's that mindset to do business. Now, I want you to think about when you're using Instagram or when you're using TikTok, for example, how are you using that platform and how do you engage with content? And for me, speaking for myself, I use Instagram for sports, memes, shopping, entertainment. But when I'm on LinkedIn, I'm in a completely different mindset. And that mindset's quite important, especially in a B2B context. So for example, members are 2 to 3 times more likely to feel positive and purposeful after visiting LinkedIn compared to other platforms. Now, again, think about somebody on LinkedIn, you know, it's their professional presence, they're surrounded by their colleagues, maybe their employees, it could be their clients. So they're going to be a lot more mindful and a lot more present when engaging with content on that platform. And in a business to business context, that's even more important. Creating a platform, a business to business platform, a professional platform for somebody to engage with content when they're in that mindset. So that's super, super important when we speak about the mindset to do business on LinkedIn. Now, something also speak about quite a lot. So this is actually something from what's called the B2B Institute. That's our internal think tank at LinkedIn to kind of understand the B2B landscape and what the B2B landscape could be like in 10, 20 years time. So I think, speaking from experience also, most marketers kind of see you know, a funnel awareness consideration decision of just kind of nurturing prospects down that funnel to convert. But really the reality is about 96% of B2B marketers are actually, I'm getting mixed up here. About 96% of B2B marketers actually expect results from campaigns in 2 weeks. I'm sure you've heard this from clients. You launch campaigns, you do initiatives, and clients are like, where's my ROI? Like, I'm not seeing returns straight away. But just kind of like in that B2B context, when you think about like the overall landscape, about 95% of buyers are what's called out of market. So 95% of your core target audience are actually not considering a purchase decision for your product right now. When you're doing kind of those short-term campaigns, you're capitalizing on what's called in-market buyers, which is the 5%. So if you could take one thing away from this presentation today, it's this. The vast majority of your key target audience are not in market and making a decision right now. So we as marketers, our job really is to kind of capitalize on what's called mental availability. So when we're engaging our core target audience, we not only have to consider the 5% that are in market, we want to create a strategy that engages that 95% of people that are in market in the future to consider our products and services. Just to kind of give you a few quick examples, like with that 95 to 5 rule, about 75% of companies buy computers once every 4 years. 80% of companies change principal bank every 5 years, and 90% of consumers buy cars every 10 years. So when you think about the B2B buying cycle, it could be cybersecurity software, it could be a big manufacturing contract. Like, they take a long time. So there's only going to be a small amount of people who are going to be in market to actually consider that product. So your job as a marketer, it's not so much just creating an awareness campaign, nurturing them down, and then they make a decision. Ultimately, they're going to make the decision themselves of when they're in market. So our jobs as marketers is to keep our brand on top of mind. So when they are in market, you're the brand of choice. And it comes down to mental availability. When they're in market, they're going to pick you first. That's your job, whether it's consulting with your clients or consulting with your own strategy, is building your brand to make it on top of mind for people who are both in and out of market. Something that I think is really, really valuable on LinkedIn is just the ability to engage what's called the buying committee. So the buying committee is anyone who's involved in that ultimate purchasing decision. From experience, when I'm consulting with clients, whether it's an agency or just with a client directly, typically every client wants to talk to the CXO level. So when you do a campaign, for example, we want to target CFOs, CEOs, CMOs, whatever it is, because they're the people who are probably going to sign the dotted line later down the stage. But the reality is there's so many different people who are actually involved in that buying process. So it's our jobs as marketers not to just get the person who signs the dotted line, but actually to engage the whole group of people who are potentially involved in that buying process. Our data shows that about 6.8 people on average are involved in that decision-making process. So when you're building your audience strategy, whether that's on LinkedIn or any other channel, I would encourage you just to actually map out who are those stakeholders who are involved in that purchasing decision, and how can you actually reach them and communicate with them in a meaningful way. I can speak also from experience, like the last 2 years, I'm sure for most people on this webinar, it's been challenging, right? It's been a challenging landscape. So you can imagine that buying committee is getting even bigger, and it's getting a hell of a lot more difficult. So for you, for example, if you're speaking to the marketing function, think about the message you serve to the senior level marketing folks versus the junior level marketing folks. The chances are the junior level marketing folks are probably a lot more active in that decision-making process than that CXO level. So think about how you divide that message up between seniority levels, for example, or functions. The reality is procurement could be involved in that decision also. So think about how you divide your audience, divide the message, so you can maximize the impact you have on that buying committee and nurture them to a decision to actually acquire your product long term. And when we break it out just from an organic and paid perspective, and we look at all stages of the funnel, like we really believe that we have like a full suite of tools, both from an organic and paid perspective at all stages of the funnel. Now, when you think about the top of the funnel, from an awareness perspective, from an organic view, you have posts, videos, company page, a whole suite of free content there, one piece here. And I'm sure it's mentioned at some point down. I'll get to that in a moment. But then to the paid products, you have sponsored content, you have videos, you have carousels, you have a whole suite of ad formats for you to actually be creative and essentially create a relationship with your audience and make them aware of your products and services. Now, moving down into the consideration stage, you can consider something that to encourage a little bit more action. So that could be LinkedIn Live, LinkedIn events on the organic side, or even LinkedIn articles. And then moving along to the paid side, it could be what's called an account-based marketing strategy, targeting a specific list of companies, for example. It can be just using those suite of ad formats to, I guess, hopefully kind of stoke action, whether it's clicking to the website or clicking to a form. And then lastly, on the acquisition stage, newsletters. If I can advise everybody here, newsletters are one of the most valuable LinkedIn products we have, and they're completely free. If you're not doing this, I would actually advise you to set that up as quick as possible. What that does is it gives you a completely free outlet to reach your full organic audience and actually create a constant line of communication with them free of charge. And if somebody follows your company page, they will immediately get asked to subscribe to that newsletter. So if you could take one piece from me, set up a newsletter as quick as possible, because there's low-hanging fruit for you there to engage with your key target audience or your follower base. And then moving over to the paid side, LinkedIn lead gen forms. Maybe a lot of you are familiar with that. It's an instant form that lives in your LinkedIn ad. Once they click, their information is populated straight away, and you can gain that contact information for your CRM in a matter of seconds. And we have a whole suite of website retargeting, engagement retargeting, whether it's engagement on an ad or engagement on a video. Some super effective ways. What you can do is to essentially capture that intent or capture those contact details for your CRM. And then the bottom piece, something the vast majority of clients don't speak about enough, is advocacy. So when somebody does become a customer, for example, like, can you build a program to actually shout about that? Whether it's testimonials, whether it's using what's called influencer posts or what's called thought leader ads, essentially just pushing that message out to essentially shout about how good your products and services are, how great the experiences of your customers are. A really underutilized part, and it works super well. Most clients have tons of content available there to utilize. So I'd really recommend you kind of build something in there and kind of integrate an advocate strategy across not only the bottom part of the funnel, but actually the top of the funnel as well. And a quick example of what a paid journey looks like from a funnel perspective. So if you look at an awareness ad, for example, somebody watches a video at the top of the funnel. We then capture that engagement. So we actually retarget people who watched X% of that video, and we actually retarget them with an ad. So we're actually retargeting them with a blog, a simple piece of content just to accumulate some interest. And then we build an audience from that, anyone who kind of opens that. And then we retarget them with a lead gen form to actually submit their interest for a webinar. And then from there, they actually convert from that webinar. So what we have is somebody who wasn't aware of your products and services. You served up an educational video to actually give them a snippet of who you are, what your product is, and how it can solve their challenges. Then you retarget those prospects with a simple piece of content. And then you retarget those people again to actually submit their interest for a webinar. So straight away, you can see that somebody wasn't aware of your services, and then you're nurturing them all the way down to suddenly being interested in a webinar. So from a paid perspective and an efficiency perspective, this is a much better way to actually structure your campaigns, because it means you're kind of checking all the boxes at all stages of the funnel and actually maximizing the return you're getting, whether it's from awareness or even from a conversions perspective. And what ties that all together, and it's something that I think us and LinkedIn have been super focused on over the last 2 years, it's measurement. So 84% of marketers have reported that measurement and reporting is being a growing priority for their organization. And I think in the current macroeconomic climate, I can see that with my clients for sure. Measurement, in essence, understanding the impact of your paid activity on LinkedIn has become super important. Marketers want to constantly showcase that what they're doing is actually meaningfully impacting the business. And I'm really proud to say that LinkedIn has a whole host of solutions there that can hopefully help you on that cycle. But before you do that, what I would do is just think about like a more of a long-term measurement mindset. Don't think about the here and now as much in terms of, you know, your impressions, your clicks. They're super important. But when you're defining a long-term measurement framework, what you need to do is to understand, first of all, the length of the sales cycle. So how do you define and measure ROI over the length of the sales cycle? Second, differentiate ROI in KPIs. So what are the KPIs that you need that indicate that you're actually moving towards kind of closing a deal? And what's the core metric you need to showcase that you're getting return from your investment? And lastly, just creating some sort of easy framework to actually educate and kind of share with your partners and stakeholders is super important. All of those impressions, clicks, engagement rates is great, but how do you actually break that down and showcase in real kind of monetary value, for example, how that's actually impacting the business? And just kind of some metrics across the 3 of those stages: awareness, consideration, decisions. So reach, for example, you know, make my business known to the right target audience. And then consideration, stay in the audience's consideration shortlist by nurturing them. And finally, conversions, convert prospects into customers. Now, when we think about awareness is quite a tricky one, right? So a lot of my clients, they come to me and saying, we're doing some really good content, getting so many impressions, getting so many clicks. But what does that actually mean? So if you are considering to do more of kind of like an always on awareness strategy, for example, whether it's with you or your clients, I would really consider you to kind of break it out and what KPIs you need to adequately measure brand awareness. And we'll get into some additional pieces in just a moment. But just to start, growing brand awareness, ultimately the most important metrics you're going to look at is reach, impressions, video views, and your CPM, how much you're paying per 1,000 impressions. Something that's actually not mentioned here is frequency. So how often are you reaching your target audience? Are you reaching your target audience often enough for them to remember your message, for example? That's super, super important when trying to accumulate brand awareness, because the reality is on LinkedIn, like we're not Calvin Klein, we're not Porsche, we're not BMW, we're not flashy B2C consumer brands. We're B2B. So for you, I think the core message, you don't have a very flashy product to offer in most cases. I'm sorry. So what you need to do, you need to reach people more times to maximize the chance that they will remember the message. So additional metrics there, you could look at brand lift. So evaluating if your ads are actually effectively growing awareness in your key target audience. Some other pieces as well. Social engagement is like a good indicator for good performing content. It can also kind of measure brand sentiment or how positive people feel or negative people feel for your brand. And then in terms of just kind of like owning that topic as well, like if you want to be like a thought leader, for example, in cybersecurity, the number of posts are going to be quite important. And this all ties in together quite well. So maybe it's the number of posts you're posting on a regular basis, the number of followers you're accumulating off the back of those posts. And just once you kind of build those KPIs to kind of go, I'm reaching a sufficient percentage of my key target audience, I'm accumulating a high frequency, a frequency of 5 to 7 is my normal recommendation. You're accumulating good engagement. So your posts are actually getting good engagement, good volume. They're above benchmark. The overall sentiment across those posts is quite positive. People are engaging quite well. And then are you accumulating kind of other factors there as well? And are you owning those topics sufficiently? And that's a good place to start for a brand awareness campaign. And if you're consulting with clients, for example, this is where I would start. I would always lead with the reach goals, the frequency goals, and the rest of those pieces will kind of fall into place from there. And consideration. So what can you measure? So if you're driving website visits, for example, obviously it's the number of website visits that are driven to your site. Some additional metrics there. For example, in Google Analytics, you could look at time spent on your page. It could be the bounce rate, any additional downloads that they might do or conversions they might do when visiting those sites. And then actually just like audience actions. So click-through rate, the percentage of members that are seeing your ad and then clicking, opens, likes, shares, like they're important also because you want to understand what content is resonating and what's not resonating also. And lastly, conversions. I'm sure probably every person here is more focused on the conversions part, and that's from my experience. But leads, so the number of leads you're generating, the cost per lead, it could be the conversion rate, for example. But I always encourage clients to dig deeper into that. So the number of quality leads. Quality leads is the most important thing in my world. So we delivered 1,000 leads. How many of those are marketing qualified leads, sales qualified leads? So if you're consulting with your clients, ask for that information. Most of the time they have that. What's the typical breakout of if we delivered 1,000 leads, on average, how many of them are typically sales qualified leads, marketing qualified leads? And if they want to achieve, let's say 2,000 leads a month, you can plan for that accordingly in your campaigns to actually maximize the chance you're delivering value for that business. And then lastly, the cost per results. How much are you spending relative to how many leads are you generating? Super, super important. What I would say also is cheap doesn't always mean better results. I'm sure everyone knows that here. I'm much happier with clients if they deliver 10 quality leads at a high price rather than 100 quality leads at a super low price. So don't be afraid to challenge either your internal stakeholders or your clients in terms of what a quality lead is and how much it actually costs to deliver quality leads for you as well. And then there's all those other pieces on your side in a CRM. So it could be your churn rate, it could be the number of renewals, the lifetime value of that customer. The more kind of embedded you can get in some of those metrics, a much more strategic plan can be fleshed out, and it will really enable you to showcase the value back to the business much easier. And then, like, I always have to emphasize this, there is no silver bullet for measurement. There is no just like one solution. And typically it's these 5 pieces. When clients are doing most of these 5 pieces really well, they're really the kind of the healthy signals that from a measurement perspective that they're performing super well. So for example, signals, kind of capturing actions from your ads and improving campaign performance. Insights, like actually getting audience intelligence, understanding your audience, understanding if they're engaging, what content is working, etc. Verification, understanding if if your ad is being seen in a safe environment. Experimentation, something like I can speak for my clients. My clients don't do enough, and I'm sure I speak the same for you. Experimenting with different audiences, variables, objectives to understand what's actually moving the needle for you better. And then lastly, reporting an ROI. It's actually understanding the performance and effectiveness of your LinkedIn ads. And just breaking that out there, you got signals, so the LinkedIn Insights tag, website actions, one of my favorite pieces on LinkedIn. I'm so glad we launched this over the last year because this has saved myself and marketers hours of time of just collecting those retargeting audiences and actually unlocking insights as well. Reporting an ROI, actually one of the biggest pieces here for me, and I'll talk about in just a moment, is the revenue attribution report, essentially giving you a free platform on LinkedIn to understand the effectiveness of your LinkedIn activity in dollar amounts. I'll get to that in a moment. I'm really proud to say I think that Swydo have an integration with that as also. Clean rooms, you will hear a lot more about clean rooms in about 5 to 10 years time. That is going to be one of the key pillars, I think, across most marketers in 5 to 10 years time, mark my words. Other pieces, like we have company engagement report, down to experimentation. We have a whole suite of things around experimentation that you can leverage there also. Verification, we have some brand safety features, we have viewability features, as well as some integrations there as well. And then insights, audience insights. If you haven't used audience insights in Campaign Manager, I would highly, highly recommend you jump into that. Give it a quick Google or ask a question in the chat and we can talk about that a little bit more. And then if you have a LinkedIn account team, you can also unlock some insights there also. Cool. So the revenue attribution report. Oh, we're skipping slides here. Give me a moment. There you go. No, it's skipping the slide. I don't know why. Okay, so the revenue attribution report. So typically what we hear from clients is we're getting all of these great impressions, all of these great clicks, but what is it really doing to convey the value back to the business? So what we've done is we have actually built the revenue attribution report that's available in Business Manager, LinkedIn Business Manager. So essentially that's a dashboard that connects to your CRM. And what it can do is once you pick the right opportunity amount, we will be able to tell you out of the contacts that are associated with that opportunity amount, how LinkedIn has influenced those contacts like with that opportunity amount, and then give you an actual dollar number of how LinkedIn is actually positively influencing opportunities for your business. It's a huge, huge development for LinkedIn over the past 2 years. It's been invaluable for my clients. It takes about 15 minutes to set up. You can look at it by funnel stage, for example, across a number of metrics, which we'll go through in just a moment. Again, I'm aware that Swydo have an integration with that also. I believe there's other developments happening in the new year, which stay tuned for. But just some metrics to go through there also. In terms of top line metrics, revenue won, return on ad spend, LinkedIn ad spend, pipeline amount, and then leads, how LinkedIn is influencing those leads in the CRM, open opportunities, closed opportunities. This product is only getting better and better. And what it does, it just gives you a quick and easy outlet to convey what LinkedIn is actually doing from a monetary perspective for your business. And I think to kind of wrap that up a little bit, like a lot of marketers are very focused on impressions and clicks. Super, super important. I'll never debate that. But really what you need to get to the bottom of, whether you're a client or an agency consulting with a client, is how is your ad activity, you're investing money in ad activity or organic activity, how is that positively influencing the business? That's the main question you need to ask, especially in this climate. You need to think about those business outcomes and the business impact. And then a final piece, I've actually been very fortunate to work with this client actually a number of years ago. So Cognism, if you haven't heard about Cognism, I would highly recommend do a quick Google or do a quick LinkedIn search, look on their company page and see the content they're posting. They're fantastic at conveying a demand generation strategy. Really, really great client, but they actually used a revenue attribution report themselves. And they were able to identify that when LinkedIn was a touch point in their sales cycle, they had 10% shorter deal cycles, a 14% larger deal sizes, and an 8% more likelihood to close. So as a result, they were actually able to increase their investment on LinkedIn because they had the confidence that LinkedIn was actually generating ROI for their business. Really, really powerful report. I couldn't recommend it enough, but I think that's me. That is me. I think I'm going to pass it back to Swydo and they can take the reins from here. Thank you very much, guys.
Greg, thank you very much for the awesome presentation. I think we have learned a lot, and now it's time for reporting with Swydo. Just a quick reminder, if you have questions, we will have our Q&A session at the end. So just type them in the private chat and we will organize them for our Q&A session. Jeroen, please, it's time for you to connect the dots between all the capabilities of LinkedIn and Swydo. So please take it away. I will leave the stage and stop with the presentation so you can also share your screen.
Yes, thank you, Adriana. Thanks, Greg, for the great insights. I think there's a lot of valuable insights there that even at the Swydo marketing team can implement soon. So again, I'm Jeroen Maljers, the founder of Swydo. I see a typo here in my name, but it's Maljers, founder of Swydo. What I said in the introduction, I used to have an agency like 10 years ago, and I recognize a lot of things that Greg is saying about lead times, managing client expectations. And we see that also with our clients, because Swydo serves a couple of thousand of agencies and advertisers. And we see that trust in client relationship and stakeholder relationship is very important. So even in a survey that LinkedIn did itself, it says that 90% of B2B marketers say that trust is very important in building up a relationship between an advertiser and an agency, or an advertiser and an internal stakeholder. And we see that 79% of clients appreciate frequent and data-driven updates from their agencies or the ones that are managing their campaigns. And of course, being open and trustworthy there is very important. Also, trust in the ad platforms, we see that is highly recommended, because we see a lot of changes, of course, lately in Google. We see changes in Twitter. But for LinkedIn, we see that the trust in the ad platform has increased. We have researched this in our survey, PPC survey. It's a big survey we did with some other vendors. You can still download the report at ppcsurvey.com. It's a very interesting report. We have a lot of insights, and also next to the trust, but a lot of other insights also. We see that, I think also because of all the improvements that LinkedIn has made in its platform, that the trust has increased, and also from advertisers and agencies. From the same report, we see that there are major challenges between agencies and their stakeholders. One of the big, most important challenges is managing client expectations. We see that also Greg mentioned this, that you should be prepared that your client has sometimes very high expectations, and you should give them, educate them that in a B2B market space, it sometimes takes longer to get results. And you have to communicate well, of course, results by sharing their reports, insights, but also explaining and educate them on the metrics that you use. So as Swydo, we always say you need to sort of build a partner trust framework where you, together with the ad platforms, with a reporting platform and the client, together you are transparent, you communicate often, you communicate based on trust, and you are transparent in the results, but also in transparent in the expectations that you have, so that you can grow together. And then you work as partners, you work with partners with your clients, and by building and working as partners, then of course you can prove the ROI, and together you can improve the results and make your companies successful. So let's see how that works with Swydo. How can you craft compelling LinkedIn reports with Swydo? Swydo has a native integration with LinkedIn, so it's very easy. We are integrated via the API, of course, so you don't have to sort of enter all kind of API keys, but we work with OAuth. So it works that you can create a data source. We connect with the API via the API with LinkedIn. We get credentials, and very easily then can create the reports and pull in the data. Swydo also has preset templates available to you. So for LinkedIn ads, LinkedIn pages, and for the revenue attribution report that Greg just mentioned, we have preset templates. So you can very easily use those templates and use them for reporting to your clients. But I will explain later that you can also change them or create your own templates. So once you use the revenue attribution report template, automatically the data will pull in from the revenue attribution report. Of course, you have to set it up first in LinkedIn to be able to pull those metrics and dimensions, but the pulling goes automatically. You can also decide to build your report template from scratch with our easy-to-use editor and easy-to-use widget settings. You can create your own widgets. We have a lot of preset widgets in Swydo, but you can also from scratch build widgets with and select for yourself the dimensions, the metrics, and the filters, of course. And the data will then populate automatically in the report. And also you can save these kind of report templates for reuse later with other clients. Of course, building trust is also important, that you customize your reports so that you show to your clients that you really build a report specifically for them. And you emphasize metrics and trends that specifically are attributable to the client. So that means that you can customize even the metrics in Swydo. So you can, for instance, combine metrics, or you can use formulas to create your own metrics. But you can also use our text widget, for instance, to explain to the client what happened this month, and explain what you will do next month, and explain your actions for the client. And also, of course, the look and feel of the report is also very important. So we also pull in all the advertisements, we pull in the posts to really show the client what worked and what did not work. Branding and styling, of course, is also important. You can match the report with your own colors, so your stakeholders really recognize your own brand and know that you put effort in the report that you shared with them. Okay, of course, you want to then share the report with your client. With Swydo, you can share the report via PDF or online reports. PDF still works, even in the B2B space. It's very important. Sometimes agencies still visit their clients and maybe even sit behind a desk and discuss the report with the client. But of course, online is also possible. You can share the reports online with them. They can themselves also change the date range if they want. And you can present it online in a call and emphasize elements in the report and explain what happened and explain the results and explain what you are going to do next month with them. What I said, we have templates, we have also linked reports. So if you have a lot of standardized clients or standardized stakeholders, you can use our linked reports feature. So that means if you change a linked report once, for all the other reports that are linked to the report, it will populate automatically. And it's very handy if you have a lot of clients with the same services that you offer. Another part of Swydo is also monitoring. So monitoring means that you stay on top of the KPIs that you discussed with your client. So our monitoring boards give you the possibility to add KPIs, to set targets for specific KPIs, and to alert you if those KPIs are not met, so that you can be on top of, for instance, ad spend or the number of conversions that you discuss with your client, and be notified when you are not meeting the threshold, or, for instance, if you're overspending or underspending in the month or not reaching your targets. A very handy feature in Swydo that comes with the reporting function. So key takeaways. Our advice is to build strong client-agency relationship, have clear communications, manage client expectations, be transparent what you discuss with them. Don't overpromise. What Greg says, sometimes it takes longer in the B2B market space, but be accountable and work as a partner with your clients and your stakeholders. Of course, if you want to learn more, you can always try Swydo in a free trial or chat with our support team. You can also plan a demo. Thanks for your attention. Back to you, Adriana.
Jeroen, I think we can come all back to the stage. Greg and Jeroen, it's time for our exciting Q&A session. We have already some burning questions in the private chat, so I would like to just give me a second. Let me open the private chat. So our moderators have been posting some of the questions. You still can post any questions if you want, so we can address them now during this time. So the first one is for you, Greg. So how can smaller B2B businesses with limited marketing budget effectively leverage LinkedIn's tools and audience to compete with larger brands on the platforms?
Yeah, good question. And if I had that answer, a perfect answer, I'd be a millionaire. But the reality is, big brands typically have big budgets. If you have a smaller budget, what I'd recommend you to do is to, one, be very, very set on what you want to get out of that budget and double down on that. For example, if you want to deliver leads for your sales pipeline, develop a plan of what the art of the possible is with that budget. I can't emphasize that enough. I've worked with clients that had very small budgets and want to do everything. They're like, we want to do awareness. We want to get as many people to the website. We want followers. We want leads. We want sales. The reality is they can't do that. So in your case, just be very defined on what you want from that budget and then work out if it's possible. Start there. But on top of that, like, there's a bunch of resources organically and on LinkedIn that's completely for free that you can leverage straight away. So my recommendation really is just define what you really want to get out of your budget, whether it's leads, awareness. 2, understand if you can actually afford that, because that costs money. If it's realistic, does it reflect on what you need? If you need 100 leads, for example, can your budget deliver 100 leads? And then once you work out what's possible, start with that. Because if someone's spending millions versus you spending, I don't know, thousands, then you need to just maximize the amount you can get out of that budget and then go from there.
Thank you very much, Greg. There is a question here for Jeroen. It says, is Swydo limited in the amount of reports you can produce and accounts you link?
No, I don't think so. I think it's unlimited. Maybe there are some technical thresholds. I'm not sure. We can double check with the technical team, but as far as I know, it's unlimited.
All right. Thank you very much, Jeroen. Let me see. There is another question for you, Greg. What are key metrics you consider when evaluating campaign performance? Does this change depending on the funnel stage?
100% it changes depending on the funnel stage. If I want to deliver brand awareness, my job is reach and frequency, reaching as many people as possible and reaching them more than once to encourage them to remember the message. So there's three metrics there. My reach, my unique reach relative to my key target audience. Two is my frequency. How often am I reaching those people? Typically on a monthly period. So am I reaching them 5 to 7 times? And then lastly, how much am I paying? So CPM is going to be super important. And, you obviously want to reach as many people as possible, as many times as possible for the least cost. So that's awareness. When it comes to lead generation, for example, it's going to be leads, cost per lead. CPC can be important in some cases, but ultimately, how many quality leads are you driving? So depending on the funnel stage that you're focused on, or even the middle funnel stage, more of the kind of engagement, clicks to the website, etc. Depending on the funnel stage, define what's your North Star at that funnel stage. What do you want to achieve, and how do you measure it?
Thank you, Greg. Jeroen, one question for Swydo. It says, can I add metrics from different B2B marketing platforms such as LinkedIn ads, Google ads, and HubSpot, for example, to one report in Swydo?
Good question. Yeah, it's even advisable. I think you always have to sort of give a holistic overview to your clients and include like metrics from different platforms and show them the different touch points, because it proves that it's not like the customer journey is not like one straight line. They will always like move to different places and have different touch points in different platforms. And I think that also is part of being like transparent to your client. And I think that always every ad platform, even LinkedIn, of course, will also acknowledge that you need to have different touch points in different areas of online marketing to go to the final stage of buying. So I would advise all the stakeholder managers, agencies to be transparent in that and include those different metrics from those different platforms in the reports, and try to visualize for their clients how the buyer journey goes.
All right, thank you very much, Jeroen. Let me see, one question here for Greg. What are the main challenges that marketers experience when attempting to buy the entire buying committee?
Great question. And I think the biggest thing is reaching everybody with the same message is the biggest challenge I see. The buying committee, it can be a whole bunch of different functions, a whole bunch of different seniorities. So like if I was doing a campaign, I don't do campaigns myself, I consult with clients, but if I was doing a campaign and I wanted to do a more kind of methodical campaign that did influence that buying committee, I would think about how I'm reaching senior stakeholders versus how I'm reaching people in the day-to-day. And what message am I serving to both of those people? So what challenge am I solving for, I don't know, a CFO or a CMO? Am I saving time? Am I saving money? Versus somebody into day-to-day? Like, am I solving a specific challenge? It could be with their marketing suite, or am I saving time? So being very methodical about how you segment that message is super, super important. Most clients, it's not necessarily the wrong thing. They kind of go for a one-size-fits-all, reach everybody with the same message, but it's not the most efficient way to kind of use your money or engage your audience. So just think about how you segment that message. And yeah, if you can do that, you're onto a winning campaign.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Greg. One more question for Jeroen. What is the difference between connecting the LinkedIn ads account versus linking the LinkedIn Business Manager account in Swydo?
Yeah, it's only a technical difference, because I think in the what I call an API, it's application programming interface, it's separated in LinkedIn. So that's why you need to make two connections. But it's only a technical difference. Maybe in the future we will be able to sort of migrate it to one connection.
All right, thank you. Jeroen, another question for you. It says, how can we ensure that clients read the reports and don't become an extra automated email in their inbox?
Yeah, it's a good question, of course. Sometimes we see that people say, okay, reporting, I'm putting all that effort in a report, but my clients don't read it, or maybe partially they read it. And I think, yeah, drafting a report and sending the report or sharing a dashboard is your left leg, but the right leg should be call the client, interact with them, because then you get creative together and you discuss the results. And what Greg is saying, then you will get creative in using all the elements that you can use in the buyer journey, and use LinkedIn for that. And that's part of your job as a consultant, as an online marketer, to discuss it with your client. So only sending the report is half the job, I think.
Yeah, I can actually chime in there as well. I think if you're sending a report to clients, and I've done it in the past, and they're not reading that report, there could be a chance that the metrics you're showing just aren't important. So I would challenge you to actually talk to your client and go, listen, I'm showing you these reports and I'm not getting any engagement from you. It's just another thing that lands in your inbox. What do I need to show you in order to have that strategic conversation with you? So really, like, always ensure that you're dead set on the right metrics you're reporting on. And then if that's something you're reporting on a weekly or monthly basis, that's when you'll see the needle move in a much more positive way.
Thank you, Greg. I believe I have one last question that was posted during the webinar. I'm not sure if you probably already answered this, but can you elaborate on the consideration stage ads for context? Someone was asking.
Is that for me? I'm assuming.
Yeah, that was for you.
Sure. Okay. So consideration stage, to be honest. So you have the awareness stage, the consideration stage, and the conversion stage. Awareness stage, the primary goal is reach, frequency, building awareness. The consideration stage is more of that kind of mid-funnel. So, for example, it could be driving people to the website. It could be clicking on blogs, clicking on content. If I'm being honest, I would almost merge the two top stages together. So I would consider the awareness and consideration stage somewhat kind of like interlocked. And then the conversion stage is on its own. It's gathering contact details. It could be for sales pipeline, newsletter subscriptions, white paper downloads, whatever. And then the top part is essentially how you're engaging with that target audience and building signals of intent to maybe retarget those people for the conversion stage. So to answer your question, it's primarily driven on website visits, more kind of the engagement piece. But I would encourage you to actually merge those two pieces, because the content in the middle of the funnel is perfectly applicable for the awareness stage also. So I know we think about funnels in 3 stages. It's much more convenient for clients to think in 2 stages, if that helps.
No, thank you very much. I don't see any more questions in our private chat, so I think that we are reaching the end of our webinar. I would like to thank you, to thank our participants and also our speakers for the great presentation. And we will be sending the replay for everybody that signed up, so you can also share with friends, or you can also watch it on another time on your own pace. Thank you very much, and have a nice rest of the day.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having us. Have a lovely afternoon.
You too. Bye-bye.